You're watching Newsline. Local people, local news.
Exaggerated claims.
You're saying there's exaggerated claims, but you haven't actually seen it yourself.
Nope.
You are not a group. You just have an idea.
We weren't getting anywhere just defeating what they were doing.
Incorporated? No. Point of order. You say that it must be incorporated and education. Mr. Bird.
A closer.
Right over there.
Right now on Newsline, it's been a controversial topic in Bonneville County, and we're taking a closer look. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chelsea Brensel. Tonight, we're talking District 93. Will the school board and community ever come to an agreement on how to solve overcrowding? Well, that's a big question, and tonight, only on Local News 8, we're getting the answers that you want. Right now in the studio, Jay Hildebrand is joined with School Board Chairman Brian McBride and Vice Chairman Paul Jenkins. But before we get to that, let's talk about what happened in this building here just about an hour and a half ago. Now, this building, let me just tell you, it's seen a lot of late nights, long meetings, and a lot of heated discussion, but that discussion, it actually came to an end. The school board voted 5-0. They decided they're going to go forward with a proposed high school, and so what that means is $55.3 million is the projected cost for that. But that's not the only thing you're going to see on the November ballot. You're also going to see a proposal for an auditorium and a football stadium that's going to cost $8.2 million. So numbers, let's talk numbers. What does that mean? If a high school passes, that means that $55.3 million, that's going to equal out for a homeowner who has a property value of $100,000. That will be $1.75 extra every month for the next 17 and a half years that you're going to fork out of your wallet. But if both pass, that means $2.92 every month for the next 17 and a half years. So a lot of things, but you know, they actually, how did they get to that number? Well, they got to that number by taking $3 million out of the contingency fund. They say it's a political move. They really need the high school and they can't really do anything without it. So that's why they have that tiered ballot. But you know, I'm going to send it back to you guys so we can get some of your questions answered. For now, live at the District 93 office, I'm Chelsea Brensel.
Oh, thank you very much, Chelsea, for setting the stage for our discussion today. We have two school board members from District 93 with us. We have the board chairman, immediately to my right, Brian McBride, and Paul Jenkins, who is the vice chairman. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first of all, do you feel some sense of relief that maybe the fourth time will be the charm here?
I don't think you have any idea what a sense of relief we have. You know, there's been, it was monumental tonight. You know, there's been such, this community has really gone through a lot. There's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of personal feelings of how things should go, and tonight the board came together, and it's kind of how we want the community to reflect from our, we want them to come together and do as we've done to compromise on a few things, but get something passed for the kids.
So Paul, do you feel confident that this will pass, and if so, why?
I think that this school board has worked diligently to try to come up with something that will pass. We'll only know when it hits the ballot box. But we have reduced the amount that we're asking for the public to fund. And I think it's a very reasonable, you know, we're not trying to build a Cadillac, we're not trying to build a Rolls Royce, we're trying to build a very usable, sensible building to educate the children. And that's really what it's about, is educating the children. Right,
and then now even as we look at this within the school board itself, there was not total unanimity before. One of the school board members, Jeff Bird, had sided more with those who were opposed to the bond, but even Jeff Bird voted for this tonight. In fact, tell me about that.
Well, he did. We've run, this is, like you said, this will be our fourth attempt. He has had a feeling that the resolution should be a middle school. He's felt that that is where the need is, mostly because of not raising the tax levy. If we can build a middle school, it's going to be a cheaper school, and it'll keep the tax levy down. So he feels that as if we can do that, then that would be a better solution for the community.
But ultimately he voted for the high school.
Yeah, and it was a compromise on his end. I think it was something that he didn't initially want to do, but he saw the wisdom in it, that the board was really trying to come to a compromise, and it came to a number that he was willing to support and jump on, and you have to take it to him, because of his opposition, and bringing these things to the table, it's allowed us to have this kind of discussion and to get us to the point we have. So it's been very healthy.
Maybe that'll bring some other former opponents on board there too. Now, Paul, let me ask you, as I look at these numbers, and $100,000 property, about $1.75 more a month, and even with a little bit more, $2.92 a month. Why was there, do you think, such as much opposition as there was? These seem like fairly low numbers that people could afford, but some people still were quite opposed to even those amounts.
The previous bonds were for a considerable amount more. Mm-hmm. And Brian was on the board at the time, and he can probably talk better to those figures. But it's now down to a point where it's a very affordable something that we can do.
Okay. We asked a little bit earlier this evening for people to send in some questions on Facebook, knowing the board members would be on. And let me just ask you, well, we'll do the first one, then we have some other questions here. First Facebook question number 1 here. Comes from Lynn and Teresa Jenkins. I don't know if they're any relation, but
no relation.
People have wondered for years, they say, why districts 91 and 93 don't combine. It would be cheaper to run the two as one. What's your response to this?
It really is not. In fact, there was an extensive and exhaustive survey that was done by an independent organization, and it would cost about $1 million a year more if we consolidated. Not only that, but District 93 doesn't want to take on District 91, and 91 doesn't want to take on District 93. They both have their strong points, but it would be a realignment, and it's just not cost effective.
And Jay, that also has to pass the supermajority to do something like that. So you've got to have voters in 91 and 93 who are willing to support that, and there's not that support that will be to get a supermajority.
Okay. Well, and it's interesting that the studies actually showed that for some reason it would be more expensive. I also reached out to the Solutions Group. They declined to have someone come on live with us, but they did send in a few questions, and they said that if all these questions, Mr. Bidstrup said, if these could be answered, then their group would be on board. I don't have time to go through all of them, but just a couple I thought we might highlight here. One, for example, is they say because bonding capacity can be used to retain teachers and improve educational opportunities for our students, why spend it all on buildings instead of our students and teachers? Your response?
Bonding, when you go for a bond, it is specifically for building.
By law?
By law.
Okay.
It is codified, and we cannot use that money for teachers or for educators. It can go only to the building. So
that answers that question.
Well, and there's another argument that they're wondering why the district doesn't save. Why don't they save money? Well, we can't save money. We have to spend on the purposes that they allot us the money, and so it's different than a homeowner where they can save to do things where the district doesn't have that option.
You have to spend everything that comes in.
Correct.
Sounds like my house.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Okay, so and maybe you can educate us here. Some of us know this, but there is a difference between a bond and a levy.
Yes.
Also, so what they're talking about here, maybe a levy would be an issue that could pay for some of these other things, but that's an increase in taxes as well.
That's correct.
Okay. Let's go to our Facebook question number 2 here. This comes from Miriam Carter. She wants to know why you guys, she says, want to increase taxes for a new school while the city government is doing the same. She feels this would be further burden on taxpayers. So some background here. Just yesterday, the Idaho Falls City Council approved a 3% increase in property taxes, and so she's thinking this is kind of a double whammy. Your response?
Well, I think it is a double whammy. That's the result of a growing community.
Yeah.
You know, we have the growth is happening, and we have to respond. And this is part of the growing experience that we've got to provide a nice facility or a facility that will provide for the growth, and that's how it's done, is through tax levy increases.
However, Paul, there's another element to this.
Yes, because District 93 is primarily in the county. There's a small section around Falls Valley, the First Street area from Woodruff over, but there's really a very small section of our district that would be double taxed. So it's primarily a county, city.
All right. Well, we've got a few more questions for you. We're going to take a quick break right now. We'll come back with a few more questions for our school board guests.